I'm going to talk a little more in detail about specifically being a sound person in a live music venue. Most live music venues have permanently installed sound systems that need to be managed and maintained. They also have additional equipment like microphones and monitors and cabling that would need to be set up for each show and then put away at the end of the night. And so all of that stuff needs to be managed and organized and maintained. And so you need someone in charge of it all to be responsible. And so that's where a venue sound person, also frequently called a house sound technician, would be hired to manage and maintain all the equipment. I was the house sound technician at McEwen Hall and Ballroom for 5 years. And in that job, I managed all of the equipment, I did all of the maintenance, and I also got to run the sound for a lot of shows. Depending on the size of concert venue that you work in, sometimes you'll have to run some of the shows, sometimes you'll run all of the shows. It depends on if you have touring acts coming through or not. If you work in a venue that has touring bands traveling through, like I did, you'll do a lot of work coordinating with the tour to make sure all of your equipment is going to be set up correctly for when they arrive. So when a band is on tour, they are putting the same show on in a different venue every night for sometimes months at a time. And they really want to make sure that the show can be exactly the same for every audience. So they need to be in touch with every venue that they're going to tell them what they need and what they're going to have and how they want it to sound. So in my job as a house sound technician, I did a lot of emailing and phone calling with tour managers for bands that were traveling around the world and coming to us, wanting to make sure everything would be exactly the way that they needed it. A venue sound person is also responsible for managing a lot of rental equipment. Sometimes you need to bring in extra stuff for different shows, and so you have to manage coordinating the rental and making sure it gets returned correctly at the end of the night. You can't be the only person by yourself moving all of this equipment around and doing all of that heavy work. So frequently you have to book crew. So you need people to come and help you. These people are called stagehands, and as a venue sound person, you end up booking stagehands for almost every show to come and help unload the touring equipment and set up the rental equipment. And then they can help you with all of the moving around of equipment all night long until it's time for you to clean up and go home. So sometimes you also have to be good at working with people and giving people directions while also keeping track of all of your equipment. Sometimes being a venue sound person can mean having really long days, especially if you are the official house sound technician. You're responsible to be there at the beginning of the day to make sure everything gets set up correctly, and you have to be there all the way until the end of the night to make sure it gets put away correctly. But a typical day in the life for a venue sound person can vary a lot depending on the size of the venue that you're working in and the type of shows that your venue puts on. I personally worked in a rock and roll venue that put on a lot of touring shows. And so my days were frequently very long. And I did a lot of paperwork coordinating with bands that were going to be coming in with their equipment. Frequently my days were very long, and they also involved a lot of coordination type work, emailing, scheduling, directing crew, and also operating the equipment, which can be really hectic to have to do all of those things, but also really exciting to make the show happen. Working as a sound person in a live music venue was a really exciting job because I got to see so many concerts and I got to work with so many different kinds of people. And I also got to know my equipment and my sound system really well and really learned a lot about the technology of sound engineering at the same time.